We have three more. I guess one of them, Niels, is going to be more of a practice than a talk, but it's going to be in the same sort of 15-minute, 10-minute structure. So we'll have a talk, a practice, and a talk. Yeah, let's begin with who our first speaker, I think, is Adam Safron on rhythmic entrainment, flexible on or co-selfing. So if you want to introduce yourself a little bit in the way that you feel is relevant and jump into it.
Hmm. Um, Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Safron. I am currently a research scientist working at the Allen Discovery Center with Mike Levin. Um, I guess I've been a itinerant postdoc for most of my life, having stations at various places, ranging from the Kinsey Institute, studying human sexuality, to the Johns Hopkins Center for Psychedelic and Consciousness Science. And in this talk, I'm going to talk about some of my older work, which I think is still relevant, on rhythmic entrainment and ways in which can alter consciousness, and potentially with implications for our capacity to connect with ourselves and others. And so I should share my screen. And can everyone see my slides? Oh, there we go. Good.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I got going on this thread partially when I was researching connections between orgasm and epilepsy. Specifically, when I discovered the phenomenon that some people will have seizures and orgasms that could be triggered by brushing their teeth. And I was going on this because I was trying to understand epilepsy, because my father was a temporal lobe epileptic, and with also had a temporal lobe personality, and he would have seizures with ecstatic auras, and also seizures that could be actually triggered musically sometimes. And so I was trying to figure out, like, well, how does that work? What's going on there? And so this number of years ago, I proposed a model of the ways in which rhythmic stimuli can basically alter consciousness, and also with connection to sexual climax, in terms of as a kind of constrained epileptiform process. We're not going to get into that so much today. We're going to focus more on like the rhythms, but this was the journey. So in terms of this, so there's this progression you'll see in nature that goes from like mating song to mating dance to mating actions, and at each step along this progression, there's a rhythm that's engaged in by the organism. And why is this? The claim I made in a paper I wrote around 2016 was that the ability to stably and flexibly engage in a rhythm is an honest indicator of organismic fitness, like to hold the rhythm and to adapt the rhythm. Things have to be going roughly okay for the creature, and that this could be part of the reason that you see this sort of rhythmic gating. But then mechanistically, I proposed that and actually, Darwin had some similar ideas, and there's a video of mating fish that I'm not going to show you right now, but which is awesome. I can share my slides, and just you see, like, as they swim up against each other, they start going, that the ways in which animals can entrain one another with shared rhythms. So rhythms are fundamental in nature, but why? So I said, like, an ultimate why, an evolutionary why, in terms of a story, a just so story about organismic fitness, but mechanistically, rhythms seem to be the way in which complex oscillating systems, the rhythmic entrainment as a principle by which they can be ordered and be organized from within and be brought into relation with the environment for the sake of adaptive action. With respect to neural rhythms, there's been different proposals for the significance of neural rhythms. Some people think they're epiphenomenal, but there's other models, such as I think Pascal Friese's communication through coherence model, that basically In order for neuronal ensembles, in order to produce coherent activity, they have to be rhythmically aligned. Otherwise, it'll just be cacophony and chaos. Signals will come in, they will decay rather than sum. And so you need some sort of rhythmic structuring to basically take a complex system and a complex nervous system and to have it do a particular thing. And so with respect to rhythms, the phenomenon that the mechanism of interest would be one of entrainment. If you have one rhythmic system and it is engaging with another rhythmic system, they'll tend to through resonance, as they minimize their free energy, they'll tend to sync up their rhythms as they push and pull on each other in different combinations, when they push and pull in coherent ways and fall into an attracting state of a common rhythm. This is a phenomenon you see throughout nature of the way things sync up. Like we were talking about like fireflies or schools of fish or birds just sync through things tend to sync up. And so in this model I proposed, the idea was, this I was focusing on mating behavior, but I think this is a more general story that talks about basically any rhythmic activity you engage in that you find to be pleasurable and engaging. So it could apply just as well to dance, to song, any rhythm. And so the proposal is that rhythms are special and that they have a rhythmic activity is special and that they have a potential for a positive feedback cycle to get going between attention and entrainment. So the idea is like when you engage with a rhythmic stimulus, this stimulus then can the rhythm that you're engaged with can entrain your neural rhythms, and then when your neural rhythms are in sync with a stimulus that's external, it's easier to attend to it. And the more you can attend to something, the more you can be entrained by it. And so it's kind of like, the deeper you go, the better you feel, the deeper you go. And you keep attending and getting entrained more and more. And then things that are in line with the rhythm you're engaging with, they win in a biased competition for attention. And things that are more asynchronous with that rhythm, they get crowded out and they lose the competition. And so some of these could include things like some of these asynchronous things like your autobiographical narrative selfhood that's like plotting and planning and noticing its contingency and suffering in all sorts of ways. That, for instance, might not be as rhythmic as you're trying to, but engaging just with the rhythm and sensate focus. As you do that, basically, the idea is that you get this attracting state that then can crowd out things like reflective self-consciousness, and this would explain some of the phenomenology of flow and trance states. And so, yeah, that was a model I proposed of rhythmic entrainment to explain ecstatic states. And so then I'm going to skip this. And so, yeah, so as I was mentioning, so it's like a kind of like rhythms being special and their ability to have this positive feedback between attention and entrainment, and that they can help with basically letting go of self processes that are less rhythmic. So unselfing. And potentially there being, I guess, a dual pleasure here. One pleasure is the sensate focus and deep engagement with the rhythm, being immersed in it, and the other is letting go of your suffering self. So we have unselfing, but what about co-selfing? So another idea is that basically, if you have this capacity when you engage in rhythm to be entrained by it, and two people are engaging with the same rhythm, they can be co-entrained. And so now two people, by virtue of engaging in a shared rhythm, can be brought into sync with one another and can send and receive sample from the environment with and in an aligned way and have a higher bandwidth channel of communication between them for more information exchange. So more of a capacity for things like emotional contagion for two people who are basically phase aligned in their activity through a joint rhythm. And so, basically this would explain some forms of like bonding and potentially in terms of you're with someone else, you're sharing a rhythm with them, and you're feeling very good because you're immersed in this rhythm and you're letting go of yourself. And so the idea is like when you let go of yourself more, others can be potentially, you're more open to others because you've let go of the self. And you're feeling good together to the degree that you are engaged in this shared rhythm. And this does seem to be a pretty universal thing that people do, and not just people, but animals. It's throughout nature, like creatures love to share rhythms. And so I have this, this is highly speculative, but I have this bottom right here. The rubber hand illusion is shown, and it's this idea of, or it's this phenomenon where, like, if you conceal someone's hand, maybe you probably know this already. I'll try to describe right now, and you put a rubber hand there, and you stroke it rhythmically with like a brush. You'll basically generate this illusion where your body map will expand into this rubber hand, and the rubber hand will now be inferred to be part of your body. So an interesting thing is when you overlay the rhythms of like your cardiac system on top of the rubber hand, this actually greatly enhances the rubber hand illusion. And this has been reproduced at least once, so it seems like a real finding. And so this idea would be that sharing rhythms, you can also take the minimal embodied self potentially and extend it to include others who are sharing rhythm with a kind of co-agency or co-selfing through shared rhythms. Speculative, but the idea is that rhythmic activities are important for allowing you to both unself and co-self, and this could be an important part of, I'm saying here are, no, it's concealed, it's showing up on my screen now, but there we go. So I say like here, like, joint attention absorption, body map expansion, humanness. I think this is a broader story, like, a lot of animals, it's a similar idea. But so, don't allow. And so, yeah, so self models, ego expansion, and bonding. That part of our humanness is due to our ability to share rhythms intensely with each other and to both let go of and find ourselves together. And so that's basically wanted to share with all of you. It's some of it's very speculative, but I think probably for many has a intuitive appeal in terms of, it's like, yeah, that's what it's like to be a person. So thank you so much for your time and attention. And I don't know how much time there is for questions, but